Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I was born in the year 1992, which means 2022, which is this year, I'm finally turning 30. And I have just last few months of being in my 20s left. So I've been journaling a lot. I've been making a list of some of the wins I had in my 20s, some of the biggest mistakes I made. And in today's video, I decided to share all of my mistakes with you. This is with the hope that the mistakes that I made, if I tell them to you, chances are that you won't make them yourself. So with that, I hope you're excited and let's begin the video. The first big mistake that I made was deciding the career that I was going to pursue for the rest of my life based on just glamour factor. You see, when I joined my college, I started watching a lot of these TV series, stuff like Suits, Mad Men and all of that. And as naive as I was, I actually thought that everything that was shown on those shows was absolute reality. So I was looking for a career that would be that action-packed, where I would get to wear those beautiful formal clothes and stuff. And it was really naive of me to think that those were the factors basis which I should decide the career for me. And because I was studying economics, the career that kind of fit really well according to the standard, the glamour standard that I had set for myself, was investment banking. Everyone was talking about it. It was fancy. It seemed amazing. I would get to wear amazing clothes and I would get to dress up and have like these fancy meetings that people in suits have. And I thought that was it. That is all that I wanted to do. And because I decided that, I started taking a lot of elective subjects that were based on investment banking. I started reading up more about it. I started making a lot of decisions that would eventually lead me to that life, without ever considering what investment banking was, what my job role would be, what I would be doing on a day-to-day basis, without speaking to anybody who was in that industry even. So finally, at the end of my first semester, I went to this professor who I had, and he was kind of like a mentor figure for me. I went to him and I asked him, I told him that, hey, I've decided investment banking is it for me. And he told me, Saloni, looking at you, knowing you really well, I don't think you'll enjoy investment banking a lot. Why don't you go ahead and take an internship in this space? So I applied to a lot of these investment banking companies and finally I got an internship at a really reputed firm. And I went there and it was possibly one of the worst internships I've done in my life. I did not enjoy the work one bit. It seemed boring to me. It seemed repetitive. There was very little creativity. And I'm not saying investment banking is bad. It's great for some people, but it wasn't my thing. And had it not been for that one internship, I would have pushed myself in that direction and it would have been very late for me to come back from there. What I'm trying to say here is that if you're at a point in life where you want to pick the right career for yourself, don't go by TV shows and movies and what you see in all of these amazing, depictions that we have of reality. It's not reality at all. And go out and learn more about yourself, see what your choices are, speak to people. There's a lot of resources available on the internet. Take a few career tests, maybe speak to a few counselors, and only then decide what you want to do. Don't just decide based on some random glamour factor that I feel seems very exciting to us when we're just starting our journeys. The second mistake that I made in my 20s, and possibly the biggest mistake, was that I never negotiated on my salaries. You see, the first job that I got in my 20s was out of campus placement. So usually the way things work in campus placements is that when a company comes, they mention that this is the salary that they're looking to offer, and knowing that in advance, you sit for interviews, and if you get selected, that's the salary you get. So I didn't have to negotiate at all there. And then when I got into that job and after spending a few years there, when I decided to switch and move to a different role, every time I would go and interview for a different role, I would never negotiate. I wouldn't even ask for like a certain percentage increase on my base salary. You wouldn't believe, but for those two jobs that I had after my first job, I never took a pay increase. I joined at the same salary again and again, which, to think about it, I was basically losing money because inflation, I had spent a couple of years with that salary, and then 2 years later I was still at the same salary, a year later I was still at the same salary, and that makes no sense at all. And the reason why I would do this was because I was too afraid. I was like, what if they don't offer me the job? What if I ask for too much money and then itne mushkil se to I got an interview, and in that interview, what if they reject me? And what if just because of salary negotiation, I end up losing a job that seems really good fit for me. So basically, if I look back now, this seems like such a stupid thing that I did back then. Nobody told me that I had to hold my ground. This was only when I officially met Paritosh, and then I saw him negotiate with his salary and stuff when he was switching jobs, is when I realized I was actually really stupid doing this, And I think a lot of this came from a lack of self-confidence, lack of not knowing the right procedure, the right way to negotiate. And that, in my opinion, made me lose a lot of money. And not just that, it also made made me feel bad about myself. You know, every time I would join at the same salary and I would hear a lot of my other friends, getting increments year after year, it made me feel terrible. So the big lesson here for you is that if you go for a job interview, it's completely okay. In fact, it's absolutely advisable for you to ask for a pay increase. Why not? There's inflation, and when you do move to a different role, you bring in the experience that you've had in your previous role, and that will only help you perform better at the role that you're now going for. So make sure that you ask for your raise, do it confidently and do it without any doubts. You deserve it. I deserved it. I wish I had asked for it. The next mistake was that I was actually a little too bitchy with my parents, especially in my early 20s. You know, in early 20s, I had gotten access to my own laptop, I had access to internet, and I had all of these things. So I felt like, I was really good at Googling every information that I needed. There was somebody on Google. There were back then there was Yahoo Answers and, platforms like that, where I had ready answers from experts for every question I had. So every time my parents would try to come and give me any kind of suggestion, I would be like, you guys don't know anything. I know my answers. I've looked it up on Google, and I've heard it from this expert, that expert, whatever. And I would never take their advice seriously. Looking back now though, 99% of the advice that they gave me made a lot of sense, and had I listened to them, I would have probably made lesser mistakes. And it wasn't even really about taking their advice. It was about my attitude towards every time they gave me an advice. I think I was really condescending, and I was just I would just not value their experiences enough. I always thought inko kya malum hoga. And honestly, that's horrible, because for most people, their parents actually have only good things for their child in their heart, and they gave me advice with the intention of ensuring that I was making the right decisions. And it breaks my heart sometimes to think about the way I behaved with them, especially in my early 20s. So this is just a reminder that if you're doing this to your parents, maybe try and see that if they're telling you something, whether it's right or wrong from your perspective, they're doing that with possibly the best intention in their heart. So at least hear them out. Do whatever you think feels right to you, but at least hear them out and don't be condescending. The next mistake that I made was in my late 20s, so around 26, 27 years of age. This was around the time when I had quit my corporate and I had moved to YouTube full time. The reason why I quit corporate was because I wanted to get out of the rat race. The same rat race of going after promotions and pay increases after pay increases, and I was just done. I was personally not excited about being in that race with my colleagues and other members in my office, and I was really just done. And I decided to move to YouTube, and it felt like a breath of fresh air. But you know what ended up happening? I quit one rat race and I joined another one. When I came on YouTube, I got into the rat race of growing my subscribers. I was looking at other people. Oh my God, this person got 100,000 subscribers in 3 months. Why is it taking me 8 months? Whatever. So you end up getting into another kind of rat race. Because you see, what I realized was that rat race is not a corporate thing. Rat race is a mindset. We are put into this rat race mindset from the day we are born, and it's like that baby started walking at 6 months, and that baby started walking only at 1.5 years or whatever. You're put into a rat race the moment you're born, and you just continue to grow with that mindset. And basically what ends up happening is you may want to quit one career and you may want to move to something else, but unless you get this concept of rat race out of your head, you will never fully find true happiness. And that's something that I realized very late in my YouTube journey. In 2019 is when I finally decided that I was done. I was done with being into a race with, or being into competition with other YouTubers. It didn't matter what kind of brands others were getting. It didn't matter how many subscribers others had. It did not matter how many views anyone was getting. I was happy that I was doing better than yesterday, and I was happy with that. And honestly, it took me a lot of time to realize this, which is why I'm telling you firsthand after experiencing all of this. Just because you change one job after the other, or you get out of one industry and enter the other, rat race is not going to end. It's only going to end when you decide it ends for you. You have to take action to make sure that you prepare yourself to not feel like you're in that race ever. The next mistake of my 20s, and I feel like this is one mistake that I don't think I've 100% solved for me as I move into my 30s, is giving too much crap about what people think of me. I am a pathological people pleaser. I have always been a people pleaser. It matters a lot to me what somebody who's, my friend or my relative or my employees or anybody, whoever thinks what of me, is very important to me personally. And I think it's nice. Yes, we should care about, what people's opinion is of us, to the extent that you try and be nice to them, you try and be kind to them, but honestly, after a point, it can get really toxic. Meaning, if I had, let's say, feedback to give to some of my colleagues, I would never give that because I always thought it was too mean, or that, I would come across as a rude person, or that I just shouldn't do it. And this then also started impacting my mental peace. The reason why I wanted to be nice to other people was that if they feel nice about me, if I only give them nice feedback, it would make me feel nice about myself because they feel nice about me. But because I wasn't giving them honest feedback, even though the intention was to feel nice, I ended up feeling horrible because I was never really giving my honest feedback to people. The moment I realized this, I realized that this is possibly one of the biggest things that I need to work on, especially on the path of entrepreneurship that I've now taken for myself. It's really important that I say things as they are, give radical, candid feedback to people, and ensure that, whatever is in my head comes out through words, not by harsh words. The feedback, even if it's negative, can always be kind, but feedback has to go out there. And this is a lesson that I am taking very, very seriously in 2022. This is the year where I've decided to work on this very, very practically, and I hope to give you an update on this by the end of this year on whether I was able to do this well for myself or not. So I've basically given you 5 biggest mistakes that I made in my 20s in this video, but I want to end this video by talking to you about the biggest win that I've had in my 20s. And the biggest win is that I've realized exactly what I want from my life. And I feel like the level of clarity that you feel after knowing this one thing is unmatched to anything else. Now I feel like I have real freedom in life because I know exactly what I want, and more importantly, exactly what I don't want. You see, I'll give you a story about something that happened with me. It's not something that I've discussed on my Instagram also. Last year in 2021, we were approached by a lot of investors. A lot of investors were very interested in investing in our business, Hustle Post Academy. Our revenues were great, our profits were great, and it attracted a lot of investor attention. Some of the biggest names in the industries approached us, and they were interested in making an investment with us. But, and I was really excited about it. When we started getting emails from some of the biggest names, I felt validated, I felt happy, and I ended up taking a lot of meetings with people. In fact, with one of the investing firms, the meeting went quite further. I met the partner, and a lot of discussions, negotiations and stuff like that happened as well. And we were all set to receive a pretty big investment, and with that, we would be able to scale better, we would be able to market, we would be able to explore a lot of the marketing avenues and stuff like that. And while it was great, it felt amazing to get that kind of validation, somewhere I always felt like this wasn't right. I don't know, there was this weird feeling somewhere in me that this wasn't the right move for me. So I journaled and I spoke to a few people, and it helped me realize that I was not excited about getting an investment because of the way investments work in India, or anywhere in the world. Basically, when an investor comes into your business, what they want is for you to either grow super fast or they want you to fail fast. They're not interested in 20-25% growth year on year. That's not the kind of returns that they're excited about. So it's like, is this something that I want? Is this the life I want to take, where I'm chasing, big goals one after the other, where, the scale is massive? And, in the edtech space, you would have seen White Hat Junior and the kind of marketing that Byju's does and all of that. And was I excited about doing that? I realized that the answer was no. And, I wrote a long message to the person I was speaking to. I told them, this is not the life I want. I actually want to have a very chill life where I get to travel, I get to wake up in the morning, do my routines. I realized that I just want a really small life where, I'm happy, I'm making money for myself, I'm working with fun people, I'm creating fun videos, I'm doing all of the fun things that seem fun to me. Running after that billionaire tag or, multi-millionaire tag wasn't exciting enough for me. And this is just one of the examples of the things that I've realized very, very strongly on what I want from my life. And, there are many other things that I've realized. And that to me is the biggest win of my 20s. I know exactly what I want. And more importantly, I know exactly what I don't want. So yeah, with that, I end this video. Do let me know what you think about my mistakes in the comments below. And I'll see you next time. Bye.